feel like that myself. We learn new things every day. I never knew she was Cheyney.
Alrighty. Lakita, do we want to give it a little bit, a minute or two for folks to join?
I actually think we should get started. You know, we do have a nice amount of folks already here on time, and we have some housekeeping items.
Yeah, we'll be doing some intros and housekeeping.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you everyone for joining us. We're so happy that you could be here today. For those who I've not met or who've not met me before, my name is Lucy Cruz. I am currently a YCPN, Young Caribbean Professional Network board member. I'm very happy to be on this board with such a great organization. And I currently work at Temple University as the Associate Director of Development Operations for our athletic programs. So I'm in fundraising and events if anyone wants to connect or looking for mentorship or just ideas after. But we are here today for this virtual community check-in because obviously we're here at an interesting time. I feel like I'm giving a broadcast as a president because that's kind of, you know, what's on everyone's mind right now. So we really want to thank you first for being here, making some time to be here with us today. There's a million other things that you could be doing, even though we're all kind of stuck at home. So first, I just want to go into what the Young Caribbean Professional Network is about for those who've not heard about it before. So we're an organization that is dedicated to creating access to education and economic opportunities. Obviously, for, you know, our name is Caribbean Network, so we focus on minority and Caribbean communities, but we love to collaborate with all different types of global organizations. And then we cater towards students and young professionals. So we love that we have a lot of students on the call here. The way that we bring this access is through different events, fundraising. We have scholarships that we give out. If we were in a normal time, we would be having events and meetups and happy hours where it's not only a time for you guys to connect and get to know one another, but also to raise some money so that we can continue to do this good work. So our motto with that is to connect, give back, and have fun. So we hope that we're going to be able to do a little bit of all that today here on the call. So I'm going to give an overview of what the call is going to entail. So we're going to do a little speaker series first. We have a couple of experts here from our board that are going to share information on just questions that you might be having at this time, certain topics like your finances, or if you're in school, you know, what should you be kind of thinking about, or, you know, just preparing for what kind of the status of things are right now in those different respect to those different areas. So we hope that you will get something out of this. If you have questions for the speakers as they are speaking, please drop them in the chat and I will let them know depending on how we're doing on time. And then we are gonna have a session at the end for question and answer so that if you did wanna ask a specific question or elaborate more on something, you'll have an opportunity to do so at that time. So with that, I am going to go ahead and get started by introducing Blane. He is our board president, actually, and he is currently the president and CEO of BFW Group, which is a project management construction company, a project management company for the construction industry. And Blane has tons of other boards and things that he sits on. So Blane, go ahead and you can get started.
Okay, great. If you could put up our first slide. Again, my name is Blane Stoddard, and I'm a businessman. My office is at the Navy Yard, and we're very, very active in the community. We're on the Governor's Commission for African American Affairs. We sit on the board of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. I'm chair of the Black Jewish Alliance. We also sit on Global Philadelphia, and Zabeth Nick, I'm messing up your name. Zabeth is on the call. She's executive director of Global Philadelphia, which is trying to make Philadelphia a more global city. But just quickly, I'm going to talk about business resources for your small businesses. And I'm already 2 minutes in, but I'm still going to talk about, give some of my time, cede some of my time to some of the other speakers. We're going to be talking about finance, so you want to stay for that. We're going to be talking about education and how to make it through COVID-19 in a different educational environment. We're going to be talking about jobs and human resources. We have an expert on that. And we're going to be talking about mental health. And the mental health piece is really critical because I was going crazy at home and I'm still going crazy at home. So we have to find ways to deal with that. Let's jump on what resources are here for small businesses. Even if it's a side business, there's some resources out here for you. The first one is the federal resources. And if you could bring up the federal chart, you probably heard a lot about this. The $2 trillion economic stimulus program that was passed in Congress had two main programs for businesses under $350 billion economic stimulus package out of the $2 trillion. The first major one that everybody's talking about is the Paycheck Protection Program. Even if you're a sole proprietor and you have a payroll, well, the money was exhausted today. But again, even though the money's exhausted, I'm giving you good information. You still need to talk to your bank or your financial advisor about finding a small business administration bank that can apply for the next round of the Paycheck Protection Program. The money's out. I believe with all my heart that there's going to be more money coming. And again, the Paycheck Protection Program is to basically gives you 2.5 months of payroll because your business has been basically shut down or will be shut down for at least 2 months. And so that's what that is. It allows businesses under 500 employees to keep their payroll and some of their basic costs, which includes rent, mortgage, and healthcare. The other huge program coming out of this is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Small businesses can borrow up to $2 million at 3.75% directly from the SBA, the Small Business Administration, to move their business. And there's also a $10,000 grant that goes with that. Again, the $10,000 grant is exhausted, but if you have not applied, you should be talking to your financial planner or your bank about applying for these programs, which I believe is going to get a third economic stimulus. And I think that's going to be anywhere from $2 to $3 trillion. My next slide, please. How much time do I have, Lucy?
Hey, Jean.
Does anybody know?
Our timekeeper.
Yes, Blane, you have 2 minutes left.
Okay, 2 minutes. So there's some state resources. And again, these we'll make sure that you get this presentation. These slides are live. The state of Pennsylvania did a COVID-19 capital access program, which had around, I think, $67 million in it. Again, that's exhausted. It was exhausted in 3 days. But again, you should be talking to your accountant, talking to your bankers about applying for the next program. Let's jump down to the city. There are a lot of resources available with the city. PIDC, you can Google PIDC. PIDC, Philadelphia Industrial Development Corporation, is the city's leading economic development agency, and they have low interest loans to help small businesses get through this. The city had a $5,000 mini grant program. That is exhausted. As of yesterday, that was exhausted. And if you could go back out of the slide so I could talk about some of the other resources that are available. Temple University Small Business Development Center. Again, they're always providing technical support to small businesses. The Enterprise Center at 45th and Market, they have a low interest loan program for small business. The Reinvestment Fund, TRF, they're giving out $20,000 grants to daycare centers. And there's a Restaurant Release Fund that helps unemployed restaurant workers to get some sustenance to buy for food and shelter. And again, you can go to the PIDC site if you would like to find out more about what kind of assistance is available to businesses in the city of Philadelphia. Thank you so much.
All right. Do we have a question? Do we have a time for a question, Jean? Is there?
Yeah, I know that some folks were asking about whether these resources will be shared. And so in the chat, you can see our board members have already replied that yes, this will all be available at the end of this Zoom call, and it will be emailed to you as well. So it will be available. If there are any other questions, we have time for about one question. at this time. We'll have time also at the end. Any pertinent questions related to small business resources?
So it's more of a suggestion than a question. I hope this is a relevant point. You may have noticed that both the Asian Chamber and the Hispanic Chamber have very successfully positioned their restaurants and made like a weekend of buy from these restaurants. And I thought to myself as I was joining the call today, should YCPN try and do that with the Caribbean restaurants in Philadelphia? The idea being 1 weekend, 2 days, you can order out and kind of give them a boost.
So yeah, thank you so much, Zabeth. We've actually started that. We did that 2 weeks ago, and we are sharing that information. I do believe that we can possibly sort of circle back and do it again. We circulated, I believe, 6 restaurants that were currently doing delivery and takeout. Ron's Caribbean was one of them because that's the one I ended up ordering from. So if we can definitely circle back. I think it's timely that we support our restaurant community as well. So we will continue to do that. I will actually share that link in the chat very shortly so you can have a look at it offline. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. All right, thank you for your presentation, Blane. And like Jean mentioned, we will be sending this out to everyone after the event is over. So with that, I'm going to introduce our next speaker that is going to share some nuggets of wisdom with us. And that is Isidore Ogoussan. So Isidore is a financial advisor with 1847 Financial Group. He advocates for individuals and closely held family businesses to become financially responsible. So Isidore, the floor is yours.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. I'm a financial advisor with 1847 Financial. I actually got into the industry right at the edge of 2008, 2009. So I learned the hard way in how to grow into this business. So it's kind of, well, funny and not funny that I've gone through 2 of these in my early life already. You know, two financial crises. You know, one which was purely financial, this one being a health crisis. But in times like this, as having conversation with my client, is trying to be there for them and show some human element to this whole situation. And it's not necessarily all about money. Most people are concerned. They all worry about the jobs, worrying about, you know, when the next paycheck is going to come in. Even if they have job now, how long it's going to last. Worrying about their reserve. So that being in people's forefront, what I've been discussing with client, it's really the 10 point that you've seen on the slide currently. It may be a little bit awkward to have a conversation with a client and talk to them about, you know, whether they're still on track for their retirement. If they're working and still having a paycheck and still have their 401k, their retirement plan, absolutely, that conversation is warranted because you still have to stay on top of your planning to make sure that you are at all time addressing risks that are coming along the way. So talking about retirement, making necessary adjustment, looking at cash flow, all that is still important. Second thing, I think probably the most important right now is people worrying about the cash reserve. How much do I have? Is it going to last me for the next month? Am I going to be able to pay for my mortgage? Am I be able to pay for my car payment? And really, if you have a financial advisor who's managing your money, I hope they have had that conversation with you when you engage the services and earmark for emergency money or rainy day fund to deal with situations like this. Ideally, we talk about 3 months, 6 months, sometimes a year for a family of 3 like mine. A year of fixed expenses. It's really important. Psychologically, it does something good for you in times like this. When you know, there's at least one thing you don't have to worry about. But what is the point of having money in all this retirement saving account if you can't make ends meet tomorrow? So you have to be talking to your advisor. You have to be finding a way to free up some money to keep you afloat at least for the next 3 months. So you really don't have to worry about that. And if you run out of money, then you need to be creating a game plan, just like Blane was saying earlier, a second release fund. for yourself so that you can deal with if it lasts more than 3 months, what is the game plan after that? You have to be thinking forward to make sure you have that. You know, for those that have payments, credit card payment, car payment, there's no shame really, because all these companies know what we're going through. So there's no shame in picking up the phone, reaching out to them, talk to them. If you can't get somebody online, on the phone, talk to them. Figure out what kind of grace periods they're having for the customer. Is it 30 days? Is it 60 days? Is it 90 days? And then trying to find out how can you get on that to relieve the stress, because everybody's stressed out. And there's no way to sugarcoat it. It's just what's happening. Everybody's dealing with it. So being able to have that conversation with all the people you do business with is very important. For business owner, I think it's really key to really reach out to all your resources. Talk to your insurance person, talk to your mortgage person, talk to your landlord. Figure out what are the things that they can be doing to help you during this time. I think everybody's feeling the pain and everybody's willing to help. So don't be shy, don't be embarrassed. Have those conversations. I had the same conversation with one of my clients today that, you know, we're going to be deferring some of the contribution into the 401k because they're a little bit strapped for cash. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're a bad employer. You're just taking care of business and want to make sure you're still there. If you're working and you're still making money, listen, what I tell people, it doesn't make any sense when department stores are on sales and you don't go and shop. I think the same way about the stock market. Looking at the stock today, everything is a 30, 45% discount. If you have the money and you still want to be able to invest, it's a great time to invest. I'm not saying to get into the market right away now, but think about putting that money aside and make a little contribution every week or every month if you can, because you'll be buying things at a really discount price. The last thing, sorry.
I just want to let you know you have about a minute left.
Okay, good. The one thing that I wanted to also point out, and I'm not a lawyer and I don't pretend to be one, but in times like this, when you have family members that are in hospital or going through treatment or you have an emergency and doctors can talk to you, they can't share with you information that are crucial to save your family member. Times like this is where you really have to think about straighten out your priorities, get your legal documents in order, your healthcare power of attorney, your wills, your living will, your financial power of attorney. And it's just really important. It just really showed the value of having this document so that you're worrying about everything else, but you're also worrying about not being there for a family member just because you don't have a paper that gives you the right to do that. And addressing things like that are really important. So you want to be talking to your employer. For those of you that are student, if you pay your tuition from 529 plan and you get in reimbursement from your school, you should be talking to your financial advisor. What is the right way to roll that money back into the 529 plan so you're not taxed on it? And that's really important, because if you're not, the IRS will just consider as an income to you, and that's not the news you want in 2021 when you file for your taxes. I think those steps are really important to be taken now, and just block out the noise and just focus on what's important. So that's what I have to share today. I wish I have more time, but I figure, narrow it down to these 10 points. Hopefully it drives the message home, and then people can, pick some of these nuggets and apply it to themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me the time to speak to everyone. We
will have time for questions, Isidore. So if folks have questions at the end and we have time, they can revisit one of the points that you mentioned. Yeah.
Isidore, can I ask a fun question?
Yeah, I see.
Yes.
A hot stock tip?
A hot stock tip? Unfortunately, I can't do that live. but if I had to give a little secret, buy what you spend money on every day.
So next up, just to keep our program going, we hope that everyone is enjoying the information that's being shared, is Laquita Garcia. Laquita is a member of our YCPN board. She's an innovative business and HR leader who works alongside business clients and building world-class organizations. And she does this through executing talent strategies, team development, and leading change and transformation management. She's a self-proclaimed super connector and experience multiplier, and she welcomes the opportunity to work with you. If anyone wants to reach out to Lakita, we could definitely include the contact information for all of our speakers today with the email that we send out after. So Lakita, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'd like to start off by asking you to just imagine the scene. Hair salons and barbershops are open, malls are open, friends and families are gathering together again. Trips to the Caribbean are back to the norm. Hold that thought. Stay in that for a little bit. We will get back there soon, hopefully sooner rather than later, but we will get back there soon. However, in our current reality, we got to focus on navigating our current situation. So as was mentioned, my name is Lakita Garcia. I'm a global HR director and professional coach, and that's what I want to spend time speaking to you about this evening. How do we navigate our current situation utilizing the resources that are available to us? Lucy, if you wouldn't mind advancing. So I recognize we have a mixture of folks on the line. We have some folks that are still working, right, but working a little differently. We have some that may have lost their jobs, unfortunately, or just on a temporary hiatus or pause. We also have some students on the line. So what I want to cover first is from an employer perspective, just some considerations to remind you of. You may already know these things, or some things might be new for you. And then we'll get into, regardless of your situation, how can you seize the day? One thought that I will post before I get into it is, if you have it in you, now is the time to rise up as a leader. We need you. So from an employer-employee consideration, many of you are probably already aware at this point of what your employer's guidelines are if you should face symptoms of COVID-19 or if you're sick in some way. My post or my ask is that you just make sure you understand what the guidelines are that your employer has in place. Another thing from an employer's perspective is they're giving out increased flexibility. One such way is working from home. I'm having the opportunity and privilege, I call it, to work from home, but just a few thoughts on that whole work from home notion. I recommend that you get up, you get dressed, and you show up and you be ready. Be webcam ready every day, because you never know when you have to join a meeting. And our brand is always being evaluated. Be punctual and keep that in mind. With this great flexibility, now is the opportune time to really level up and raise your profile. Yes, I get it. It is tough times, and there's a lot of folks that are having hardships and situations, hard times. But if it's within your power, I recommend that you do your best to show up every day and show up ready. The next point is around employee assistance programs. How many on the call have ever heard of these employee assistance programs? I'm sure by a show of hand, a number of you have if you are employed. But if not, employee assistance programs are great in that they are available to you as well as your eligible dependents. And what it does is it offers a confidential short-term counseling session. And with that, there's a variety of topics that can be discussed, and they're generally available 24/7. So from stress to abuse, anxiety, health and wellness, the EAP, if you are employed and your employer offers this, is available to you. And I invite you to take advantage of this resource because it's invaluable. Another resource is Teledoc or physical wellness online app. So if you have insurance or benefits from your employer, make sure you understand the options. You may not need to go into a doctor's office if you are feeling ill. You may be able to do just what we're doing now, get an evaluation through a Teledoc. Also with the physical wellness and online apps, I know with my employer, we have something called WellBeats. There's a plethora of exercise routines, chair stretches, cooking tips, all types of things to help us remain well while we're in this new normal, if you will. Lastly, from an employer-employee perspective, there's this notion of virtual engagement opportunities. Right now, employers are really trying to create this connected culture. And some of the things that are being done that I've seen and heard and that employees are initiating are Virtual happy hours. In fact, there was one that I had the opportunity to join just before I got here. It had a beach theme. There's also webinars, different online coaching opportunities that employers are making available. There's some pay it forward initiatives going around, and some of those are employee initiated, where everyone in a certain department wants to make sure everybody on the team gets a reach out. And in addition to reaching out to someone at work, also reaching out to someone that's not at work and seeing how you can be of assistance. So again, a great time to step up as a leader. There's also different sprint teams being set up, employee driven, where we're saying, okay, we know our situation is different. Here's a business challenge that we as a group of employees want to help out and make a difference. So again, there's a lot of things that are available for you as an employee or an employer or together to create this engagement while we're in this new normal. Now, shifting gears a bit, again, regardless of your situation, there are still some things you can do to seize the day. Carpe diem. You may, some of you may be familiar with that term from an old movie, Dead Poets Society, one that I really appreciated. But carpe diem, how can we seize the day, today, right now, in our current situation? Well, some things we can do is learn a new skill. There's tons of DIY projects, gardening, and one thing to keep in mind, continuous learning and development and dialogue is incredibly important to stay relevant. It's even more critical now. So it's critical in normal times, whatever normal means anymore, as well as in times of uncertainty. Then we also have this notion of perhaps considering a side gig or a new gig. This could actually be the ticket or the key to you to find out what's next for you. I have a link here, the PA career link. Check it out if you're considering maybe looking for employment. Here, the PA career link has a whole website set up of COVID-19, I guess, life-sustaining jobs. They're hiring. There are organizations that are hiring, but you just have to make the decision that you're ready to be on the front line and be in a life-sustaining position. Or a side gig. Get that business plan going. Start that new company or that new side business when the time arises. More knowledge. Take a class. Host a book review group. And networking. If you remember nothing else from my presentation, remember your network is closely associated to your net worth. And remember, networking is a two-way street. It's not about what you can get. It's also about what you can give. So reach out. We have some extra time, some of us, right now. And then lastly, I'll leave you with, consider a professional coach. If you haven't ever been coached before, a professional coach can help with increased levels of motivation, helping you with career and professional development, or just helping you have a heightened sense of self-awareness, something that we need now and even in the future. So I'm happy to connect with you offline and after my next presenter goes, but thank you for the time. And I really wish that you and your families continue to stay well and reach out if you need to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lakita. I don't think that we have time for any questions at this time for you, Lakita, but if anyone has any questions pertaining to any of these topics that she mentioned, just jot it down for yourself or drop it in the chat and we can address it in our question and answer. So next up is Christa Cobb. Christa is the Director of Social Responsibility and Compliance at Cheyney University. She's been there for about 4 years now, but has few degrees, I think. So if you're a student, Christa would be a great person for you to connect with. And her presentation, Passport to the Future, is up next. So Christa, you can begin whenever you're ready.
Okay, sorry. I'm here today to talk about what's happening within the higher education space. And so I want to start off by, the title of my presentation is Passport to the Future. But I have a question for, essentially it's for everyone. How are you using this time as your passport to the future? So Malcolm X said that education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. When we look at what's happening within the higher ed space, there are over 22 million college students that are now learning online, utilizing new forms of collaboration. We have universities that are now dropping the SAT, ACT requirements for fall 2020 and even fall 2020. The federal student loan loans are now being placed in forbearance for those that have federal loans, that are not in default, and you don't have to make any payments from now through September the 30th. So when we think about all the things that are happening within the higher education space, and for those that are either going to college, that are currently in college, or even thinking about going back to school, resilience is really important in this time of uncertainty. So what do we do, to build resilience, and how do we move forward? It starts by taking it one day at a time. Allow yourself not to be overwhelmed with things that are beyond your control. Find ways to stay motivated. We're all motivated by different things, but finding what suits you would be helpful during this time period. And also visualize what your end goal is. Visualize what success looks like for you after this pandemic ends. Time management during this time period is really important. Develop a strategy for success for you. And I always tell my students, make sure that you take care of yourself. Practice self-care. Take breaks from news and social media and do things that you enjoy. When, as a college student, you're paying for tuition, and with that tuition, it comes with a lot of resources that are available to you from the university. So even though you're not on the college campus right now, think about, the classes that you're going to be taking this summer, the classes that you're going to be taking this fall, making sure that you've applied for financial aid, also making sure that you register for your classes for the summer, you register for your classes for the fall, that you are reaching out to your career and professional development department, whether you're a student or whether you're an alumni, making sure that your resume is up to date, you're participating in webinars, you're practicing your interviewing skills, and you're also, you know how to negotiate a salary if you're offered a position. And also, like Lakita said, she mentioned networking. I always tell my students, make sure if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, now should be the time that you're creating one, that you're connecting. And if you have a LinkedIn profile, make sure that it's up to date. So for a lot of college students during this time period, and just people in general, I think Blane mentioned mental health. Mental health is really important. So as a college student, most universities have counseling centers. Utilize the counseling center. If you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, request an individual counseling session or participate in a group session. So when we think about, the future of higher education, there's so many changes that are taking place. The conversations that are currently being had on college campuses are in regards to when are students coming back? A lot of institutions won't have any classes or activities on most of the college campuses across the country. And now there's even a question, for seniors that are graduating from high school, are they going to be able to live on campus? And so a report came from CNN today that talks about institutions that are considering not opening until 2021. What does that mean for, college students, that are thinking about, preparing, for graduation now, but also for those that, that are currently in school, graduations have been postponed and the landscape is rapidly changing. So higher education, as we've known it, will not be the same. So last year, the D School from Stanford University did a project on the future of higher education, and it's called Stanford 2025. And this project essentially looks at how higher education has changed and what the future implications are. And so I've created a link in the presentation for you to check out what that looks like. And I can't find the presentation. And then there's also a link that's provided for you if you have student loans and you aren't really sure if you qualify for, yes, thank you, for the forbearance. Again, if you have a federal loan and it's not currently in default, you qualify for the forbearance. The forbearance is from, as it says, March 13th through September the 30th. There's another link in the presentation that offers, so I talked about mental health. There's a course that's currently being offered through Yale University that focuses on the science of well-being. It's a free course. You could sign up and join. And as you see, there's a course that starts on September the 16th, and it's completely free to enroll. The last resource that's available, if you are a college student, I encourage you to sign up for Scholly. So My Scholly is essentially, you can download the app or you can utilize the website online to input your demographic information, and then it provides you with an opportunity to see what scholarships you apply for. So if you have any additional questions just in regards to higher education, feel free to reach out. And I wish all the college students, good success, as you wrap up your classes and even as you transition into the summer.
Jean, do you know if we have time for a question, if there's any questions from anyone?
Yeah, we have time for one question if anyone has any questions related to Christa's presentation on higher ed.
Are there any have questions on the call for Christa? All right, so if you do have a question, like I said, just jot it down and we'll have time for that. And we'll just continue with our program here. So next up is Jean Wintz Dabney. You see her pretty face right up here. So Jean, do you want to introduce yourself and then go through your resources here?
Sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Jean. As Lucy said, I have a background in public health, and I work with public and private organizations as well as nonprofits across Philadelphia to connect our clients. We serve low-income families, vulnerable populations, and the entire city of Philadelphia as a whole in my day job. In terms of my role today is to talk about some of the valuable resources that YCPN and its board have come across that we want to share with you. So just a quick recap, you guys were able to get information earlier from our 4 speakers in the areas of human resources, small businesses, financial, and higher education. We wanted to talk about things that are a little more specific today. And so on your screen, you'll see that we have information for tenants. For those of us who are renters or for those who are currently paying rent, please note that the city has embarked on an initiative that allows you to have some relief from paying rent up to and including May 31st. If it is you feel like there are other areas related to rent that you may not be able to cover, there is a number, tenant hotline that you can call. That number is 267-443-2500, and we will include that in our resource guide that we sent to you. In addition to that, I want to point out that all evictions have been suspended, and all of this information has been gathered from the phila.gov website. So we're trying to get reliable sources and sources that are sort of verified and checked so that we know that this is all legitimate. Secondly, I'd like to talk a little bit about filing for unemployment in Pennsylvania. As some of you may know, Pennsylvania is the 4th highest in the country currently that have reported unemployment numbers and persons applying for unemployment. We have had close to 1.8 million people applying for unemployment in the last 5 weeks. And so if it is you have questions about unemployment or you would like to know how to apply for unemployment, this link is a pretty good place to start. I would like to point out that the PA unemployment hotline is actually quite overwhelmed at the moment. And if you do call, the waiting time is about 68 to 70 minutes, so a little bit over an hour. But this page is a really good resource for getting some questions asked. Another really good place for you to get unemployment information is through your employers and their HR department, because they would be a really good source of directing you through the process and hopefully making that a little easier. We have a lot more resources that we can share around utilities and other areas that might be affected as you go through COVID-19. If there are specific requests, please let us know. These include in terms of like getting free food and clothing resources, and most recently, how to get free diapers or baby food if that's what you need. There are a number of there are a lot of facilities around the city and sites that are giving away free food and free fruits that last you for about a week. So if you would like some more information about that, please hit us up in the chat box and we'll send that to you. Something that we spoke about a little bit earlier, and Blane mentioned, Lakita also mentioned, is the mental and physical toll this is taking on everyone. As we adjust to this, we are acutely aware of the emotional cost, as it were, that we're paying at this point. And so we wanted to focus on a few options that would provide you with relief. In addition to the well-being course that Christa talked about, on your screen under number 3, under mental health resources, there are some options there. Healthy Minds Philadelphia is one of the, I guess, the premier ones now, because they have a line and the number is listed on the following page. As you can see here, there's a 24-hour suicide and crisis prevention intervention hotline. If you don't feel like talking, you can also text 741-741. Text home to that number and they will text you back and just trying to get a pulse on how you're feeling and try to talk you through it. There are multiple numbers here from the National Mental Health Association, the National Mental Health Institute, sorry. And so there are a number of resources here if you feel like you need to talk to someone. In addition to those, on our presentation, we also have listed some apps that can help you. BetterHelp they have a free option. There's a paid option for $2.99, and Talkspace as well, that allows you some individual for yourself if you're part of a couple or if you have a teenager in your household. We also have resources for children available that are very specific. So if you need that, again, hit us up in the chat box. But these are very specific and catered to, for example, if you don't have an employee assistance program, these are the ones that you can turn to that can help you with mental health resources. The website rating for the top 10 online therapy sites is also there, teen counseling specific. Under domestic violence help, we have a live line that if you call, I actually call the line just to test it out because I don't like referring people to something I haven't tried out myself. And so they're very serious about it. You can actually you can fill out a form and get a temporary protection from abuse order. So they are taking this very, very seriously. You do not have to give them any identifying information until you decide to file a report. Lucy, can I have the last slide?
Yes.
Thank you. And for some more mental health resource, this is some additional information. There's a crisis hotline. If someone is experiencing opioid or substance abuse addiction, they can call this. And if you know someone who has some intellectual disabilities, they can also have, there's a number here that they can call right here in Philadelphia. All these numbers, I try to keep as many of them as local as possible so that you know you're talking to someone who's your neighbor or someone who is here locally. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is there, so if you feel like that is a better bet for you and you really think that it's something serious, please utilize these resources. I hope that each of you are taking care of yourself. And even though this is a rough time, we want to assure you that we are here, the board members of YCPN. While I don't think any of us are trained counselors, we do work very closely with trained counselors. I work very closely with the LaDepot group, which is a group of African-American practitioners who are counselors. And so if you just need a referral or you need to find out what my experience has been or somebody else's, I would be happy to do that for you. That is my time, but like I said, if you have specific needs for resources or you know of someone who needs these resources, please reach out to us. I think YCPN is very, at this juncture, we're in a space where we are very cognizant of the needs of our members and we want to respond to those needs specifically. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jean. And for anyone who is joining us for the first time, or this is your first experience with YCPN, we are currently based out of Philadelphia, which is why you see a lot of Philadelphia area resources here. But if, we know that you may be in New Jersey, I live in South Jersey, you may be in New York, you may be joining us from somewhere else. So that's just a little caveat on that. But right now we do have time for some question and answer. So I'm gonna open it up really to the floor to any students. Just think about if you have a question that resonates with something one of the speakers, and you wanna ask a speaker directly something. So right now we'll see if we have any questions from anyone.
This is Blane. I raised my hand. I don't know how to raise my hand on the screen, but can somebody talk about maybe what kind of jobs? I know almost 2 million people have been laid off in Pennsylvania. What kind of job, and I know some people are hiring, what kind of jobs are out there and what kind of careers are booming? I just wanted to throw that out to the panel or to somebody who might be on the call that has some expertise.
Well, I can start. So if you take a look, I actually went out to that pa.gov career link website. So the areas that I saw were booming were logistics and transportation, also medical professions. The grocery or the food supply chain industry was definitely booming. And also there's a number of companies who are not necessarily faced with a lot of disruption, such as like tech industries and oil, gas, energy. So check out their websites as well as linkedin.com and indeed.com, because a lot of employers are actually still hiring. Not every industry has a severe impact as a result of what's going on.
Yeah.
So a little bit of research is required on our part.
For sure. And if you're like the side gig and the side hustle you were talking about, Lakita, Amazon is hiring. I know there are some ethical concerns about, you know, the kind of work. So if you want to do some research on your own, but they are hiring. Giant is hiring. There aren't many Giant stores in Philadelphia itself, but there are in Montgomery County. And they're also hiring for like delivery drivers for GoPuff and some other like places that do a lot of delivery.
Yeah. Someone posted here, Rat Race Rebellion. Not sure if you want to speak a little bit more about what that is, but obviously Rat Race Rebellion may be another source.
Yeah.
All these.
Hi everyone. So it's Rat Race Rebellion is really like if you're looking for side gigs, you know, side hustles, but they also have full-time postings. But they always send me, you know, emails virtually every day, and just gives you, you know, hot trend, just like what you mentioned, the jobs that are trending, you know. And in my industry, pharmaceuticals is also hiring right now, so definitely look into it.
That's great. Thank you, Kay.
This is Blane again. Are government agencies hiring? Because it seems like the federal government and the state government are completely overwhelmed. Does anybody know if government agencies are hiring?
They are hiring, but the application process is so long that it takes a while to actually get someone in. But a lot, like, so FEMA's hiring, Homeland Security is hiring. There are a couple of other government agencies that are hiring, but the application process is really extensive. And that's one of the things, you know, President Trump has been talking about, just our inability to be able to hire individuals within our federal government. But if you go on USA, I think it's usajobs.com, gov.com, there are lots of jobs that are open, but it's the process from application to actually getting hired that takes so long.
Security clearances, yep. What else is there?
I have just another comment
from the audience.
Someone was speaking.
Yeah, me, Kelly. It's just a comment on the student loans. So if you go on is aes.gov, and if you can get into your account, they can also give you a summary of kind of what forbearance options there are, and if they've made any forbearance announcements on your account. So it's another good way, because, you know, if you call the hotline, you probably won't get through, but they definitely have can give you an update on the web.
Great.
Isidore here. Particularly on the student loan as well. I'm with Navient, and Navient actually sent out email to anyone who has a loan through them, and it's probably the easiest process to go through. You can go directly into your account and follow the steps from your inbox and see everything they have available for you. So I thought that was a good step from them to be proactive and send out messages to loan holders. So that, at least from that standpoint, they're doing a pretty good job so far.
Great, thank you. I wanted to ask, do any of the students on the call have any questions, or do you want to share, you know, maybe a particular situation that you're facing right now and see if there's any resources or anyone on the call that might be able to point you to something? All right, so that means you did a really great job, Christa.
Well, can I mention one more thing before we? So obviously, as a financial planner, I don't only deal with the investment part of things and the planning. There's also the protection part of planning, which is the insurances, the life insurance, the disability, and all those things. A lot of insurance companies are obviously aware of what's happening. They're aware of the fact that this could cause them to be receiving a lot more claims that they're planning for this year. There's been substantial changes in an insurance company, and if you hold a policy, you hopefully are getting notices from your insurance company about changes they're making to product, changes they're making to even existing product. Make sure that you are talking to your insurance person, your financial advisor. I know with Penn Mutual, the company that I brokered through, they haven't made that many changes so far, so it's really not affecting our client base. But if you plan on applying for life insurance and you don't have enough or never had one, they definitely are a little bit more cautious about who they want to cover, how much they want to, allow people to purchase. But if you have any variable product, any index life insurance, you really want to be talking to your advisor right now to make sure that what you thought you bought is still what it is, because they're definitely making changes to those. So it's you don't want to wait till something goes wrong and then you find out that, well, sorry, we can't do this for you. We made these changes, but you never responded. So if your advisor is not reaching out to you about those changes, be proactive, reach out to them, ask them the question. I've been doing with my client that I think this is going to be affecting them, but the one that's not being affected, I'm still sharing with them anyway, just to make sure that they're aware of it. So.
Great. Hey, Lucy, before we go, I know we only have a few minutes. I would be curious to know from the participants, what was of value to them, like maybe just one word or a phrase, so that we can just have some feedback to know if we're meeting the mark, was this helpful, or maybe there was something more. So chat or shout it out, we would be appreciative.
This is Blane. While the participants maybe can go in the chat box and tell us what you thought of this event, I do want to appeal to you to have you think about joining YCPN. YCPN is like a family, and especially in these times, you need an extended family to go to for support. I see Teresa on the line. Teresa calls me about everything because we're connectors, and because I'm a connector, Teresa Jones, who is on the line, calls me right now. She's in Florida. She's stuck in Florida, and she calls me for everything because she knows that if I don't know, I can direct her in the right direction. If you're a student, we have a scholarship. I see Ziada Birthright, who hardly comes out to our events, but she's a supporter. She gives money to our scholarship every year. And Ziada, I really appreciate that. I see Wayne Barnett on the line, who again is a business person that gives money to our scholarship. We have network and social events. We're rolling out a mentorship program. All these events are meant to connect you in a way that if normally online, you would not be able to connect with people in a real way. So I would have you consider joining YCPN, join one of our committees, and become very, very active in the community. We have 20 different countries. It's not just the Caribbean. We have people from Latin America, South America, the Caribbean, and African nations that are part of our group. And we're looking for some Eastern Europeans because one of our core values is diversity.
Absolutely. Thank you, Blane. I also want to address one of our partners on the call, Jessica from Prospanica. So thank you for being on the call. Jessica, do you have anything to add or ask? I know that you guys work closely with us on a lot of our projects.
Sure. I apologize for I wasn't planning to be on video.
On the spot.
But thanks for calling me out. But I always love participating where I can with the Young Caribbean Professional Network and Prospanica, and you guys are we're just really close, and we have the same mission. We have the same goals in mind. So I think that, you know, we're currently also trying to kind of plan how we're going to be going remotely but continuing our mission in that fashion. So I most recently did a video in all Spanish with a lot of these same resources available to our community. And it's great that, you know, you guys and us hadn't, you know, discussed or shared any of our resources, and that, you know, I jump on here and I see all of these resources, and it makes me happy that, you know, we're all trying to find what's available out there, and just sharing it with everyone, so that, you know, there's nothing missed, and that we're able to benefit from everything. And I think the biggest thing right now for the students is this forbearance that the government has given us. I, for one, have a lot of student loans. I went to school for a long time. So I am super happy that that automatic deferment happened, because I can use that money towards paying down my credit cards, or, you know, any of that. So I feel that, you know, even if we don't have an immediate need, an immediate financial need at the moment, it's good to still take advantage of all of these resources out there, because you could shift some of, you know, your responsibilities around, and at the end of this pandemic, you know, you can come out a little bit debt free. So I certainly love what I caught, and I apologize that I jumped on late, but I'm really happy about what you guys have shared today. So thank you.
Thank you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanted to call out Prospanica because we love you guys. I did also want, I don't know, oh, Carla is on the call. I just wanted to shout out Carla. She's with the city of Philadelphia. I didn't know if you had anything that you wanted to share, Carla, or ask any of our participants. But we wanted to thank you for being on the call for sure.
You're welcome. I'm just here for support. Anything I could do. You know, it's really just staying connected, like Blane says, being supportive of one another, sharing resources, just like Jessica said. So just the caring professional, just looking to make sure that we can help as much as possible.
And I just wanted to say thanks to the folks who have been dropping their comments in the comments box. So we're glad that the resources were helpful to you, and we will be sending this out. Lucy is in charge of that, so she'll give you more information about that.
Yeah, so I guess we are pretty much at time. We've gone over by 3 minutes, but we're glad that you're all still with us. So we really just want to thank you. We know that you'll continue doing all the stuff that we know how to do, washing our hands, social distancing, all that stuff, but we hope that you've also been able to take something from this on all the other stuff that we could be doing, could be thinking about. And just for me, I will say that it's an interesting time because you kind of find yourself doing things that, you know, you've been thinking about and wanting to do, but now you're kind of forced to do, like, you know, check your mental health, meditate, just check on somebody because, you know, you don't know how they're doing. You're not seeing them every day. So we're kind of forced to be a little bit more mindful, I guess, in our day-to-day. And I think that's something that is shown by all of you guys participating in this call. So we definitely want to thank you guys for being here. Like we said, we will be sharing this presentation with you guys with all of the resources and links. We may actually add some more to that, so just bear with us. We'll send that out tomorrow. And then we just want to thank you and wish you well and wish you a great evening. So thank you everyone for joining us on the call.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening. Stay well.
Bye.